truly an honor for me to introduce our guest speaker. We are fortunate to have with us today retired Major General Dr. David Hamler Jr. and his wife June. Now, if I were to read all of General Hamler's accomplishments and accolades, we would be here until Wednesday. So my apologies, sir, but I'm just going to give a brief summary here. General Hamler was born in Columbus, Ohio, where in high school he focused on academics and excelled in athletics. These talents would lead him to Tufts University, where he played football, ran indoor track, and played baseball while obtaining a degree in biology. He attended dental school at Howard University in Washington, D.C., aided by a scholarship from the National Health Service Corps. As a commissioned officer, he fulfilled a 3-year commitment at various locations. He then returned to school at the Ohio State University College of Medicine, where he completed his residency in ENT and head and neck surgery. And again, thank you, General, because he told me I didn't have to try and use the real medical terms for any of this. It was during medical school that he joined the Ohio National Guard. A fellowship in facial plastics and reconstructive surgery brought him to the University of Minnesota and would lead to his transfer to the Minnesota Air National Guard. General Hamler has held many positions during his military career, to include commander of the 133rd Medical Group, state air surgeon, and assistant adjutant general. He has served in support of Operation Desert Shield and Desert Storm, and deployed in support of Operation Enduring Freedom, Operation Iraqi Freedom, and numerous humanitarian efforts around the world. General Hamler's talents were utilized to better the lives of our wounded men and women in uniform, and to save the lives of those who are willing to lay theirs down for our country. Now retired from the military, Dr. Hamler's practice is based at Health Partners Regions Hospital. His university practice includes training medical students and residents, as well as administrative responsibilities on the admissions committee. He continues to participate in humanitarian missions across the globe and is the team physician for the Minnesota Wild and medical consultant for the Minnesota Vikings and Minnesota Timberwolves. It is now my privilege to welcome retired Major General Dr. David Hamler Jr.
Thanks, Eric. You know how important a person is if you see the number of cracks in their cell phone. I want to thank Charles Kapsner, who introduced me to the community up here. Of course, I've come up here to drill in the past, but he's doing a wonderful job with the paintings. And if you haven't seen it in the hall, in Committal Hall, you should go by there. Anyway, thanks, Bill, for your emceeing. It's truly an honor to be invited to come here today. Congressman Stauber, distinguished guests, service members, families, friends, ladies and gentlemen, and of course our veterans. Before I begin my prepared remarks, I want to share my personal experience. I deployed 6 times, and for that, I was able to take care of our heroes. Many of you know about the golden hour. In emergency room response, we say if we can get someone there during that golden hour, we can save them. But in the military, it became the golden 2 minutes. Today, we train combat lifesavers where their injuries are stabilized right in the battlefield. If they reach a FAST, which is a forward surgical team, an EMEDS, which is expeditionary medical, or a CASH, which is a combat surgical hospital, we have greater than a 98% chance of saving them. Unfortunately, I've been on the other end of the 2%. Those are the hardest days of my life, and you never forget them. Just today, I met a Gold Star mother. LaDonna, where are you? Are you out here? But LaDonna lost her son, Jacob Finkston, and we talked about that today. And that's why we're here today. Welcome to today's ceremony, and thank you for attending. I'm honored to be speaking with you today on such an important occasion. We're here today to honor our service members, to remember the sacrifices they've made. As we sit in this beautiful place, I want to reflect on why cemeteries like this came to be. Originally created to honor Union soldiers killed during the Civil War, national cemeteries became national memorials to all of our veterans. About a dozen national cemeteries and numerous soldiers' lots were established in 1862. By 1870, almost 300,000 Union soldiers and sailors lay buried in 73 national cemeteries. Today, the nation has 175 national cemeteries, soldiers' lots, government lots, and Confederate cemeteries. We are here today at the Minnesota State Veteran Cemetery, otherwise known as Camp Ripley Cemetery. Many states have established state veteran cemeteries. Eligibility, of course, is being a resident of that state. I share this information with you not because of my own wanting to show you what I know, but because the desires of one of our own who's laid to rest right behind you, Section C, Grave 1, Plot 168647269. General John William Vesey's desire was to return home to Minnesota and lay beside his troops. He exemplifies all that was good about our servicemen and women who dedicated their lives in protecting our great nation. General Vesey was born June 9, 1922 in Minneapolis. He enlisted in the Minnesota National Guard at age 16 as a motorcycle rider before graduating high school. He was in the 34th ID during World War II in North Africa, was later sent to Germany and Korea. He was awarded the Distinguished Service Cross for his defensive actions in Vietnam in March 1967. General Vesey became the 10th chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, the senior ranking member of U.S. Armed Forces. He was appointed to that post by then President Reagan. General Vesey retired from the military in 1985, but continued to serve under Presidents Reagan, George H.W. Bush, and Clinton as a special emissary to Vietnam, where he led U.S. efforts to account for our military personnel missing in action. He received the Presidential Medal of Freedom, the nation's highest civilian honor, in 1992. He's buried right over there among his fellow state veterans. The Greek philosopher Thucydides once said, "The bravest are surely those who have the clearest vision of what's before them, glory and danger alike, and yet notwithstanding, go to meet it." We're here today to honor our heroes, to remember their achievements, their courage, and their dedication, and say thank you for their sacrifices. Thinking of our heroes who join us in this group today, and those who are here only in spirit, a person can't help but feel awed by the enormity of the encounter. We stand in the midst of patriots and family and friends of those who have nobly served. Those service members we honor today came from all walks of life, but they shared us several fundamental qualities. They possess courage, pride, determination, selflessness, dedication to duty, and integrity. All the qualities needed to serve a cause, as Congressman Stauber said, serve a cause larger than oneself. Many of them didn't ask to leave their homes to fight on distant battlefields. Many didn't even volunteer. They didn't go to war because they loved fighting. They were called to be part of something bigger than themselves. They were ordinary people who responded in extraordinary ways in extreme times. They rose to the nation's call because they wanted to protect the nation as us that gave them a shot. Since the first shots at Lexington and Concord were fired and our Revolutionary War began, American men and women have been answering the nation's call. Millions of Americans have fought and died on distant battlefields to defend our freedoms and way of life. Today, our troops continue to make ultimate sacrifices, and even as we lose troops, more Americans step forward and say, "I'm ready to serve." They follow in the footsteps of generations of fine Americans. The idea of Memorial Day, originally called Decoration Day, rose from the ashes of the Civil War. Following the Civil War, at least 620,000 Americans, both Union and Confederate, have been killed and hundreds maimed. Through the course of the war, Americans had blasted at each other's lines with cannons, burned cities and towns on our own soil. Americans had locked each other up in prisoner of war camps and torn up railroads that connected the North and South. Homes, schools, churches, from Antietam to Vicksburg were riddled with bullet holes. The war's unprecedented carnage and destruction was a scale not at that time imaginable. And it changed America's view of war forever. From those dark times, it was the families who were honoring their dead that began to bring the light of reconciliation. Although There are different versions of how Memorial Day began. One story goes that grieving families, both northern and southern, began decorating graves of their lost soldiers with flowers and wreaths. In one city, Mississippi, people decorated graves of both Union and Confederate troops out of the respective families of the Union soldiers, with the hope that someone would do the same for their lost loved ones in the North. These informal honors led to the first Memorial Day observation in Waterloo, New York on May 5th, 1866. Congress officially recognized Memorial Day as a federal holiday in 1887. Since then, with each passing year and subsequent conflicts, we've continued to honor our troops. We've awarded medals to many servicemen and women, added their names to monuments, named buildings for them to honor them for their bravery. But nothing ever can replace a family's emptiness of a fallen service member, and no number of medals or ribbons can comfort the ones left behind. I'd like to ask the service members, if you can, who are here today, to stand. Please stand, if you can. You've made our armed forces the most respected in the world. Please be seated. Now I'd like to ask the family member of any service member to stand. Those family members in the audience, please stand. We know you have lived through difficult times and often taken the heavy load to keep the home fires burning. Thank you for what you've done. Please be seated. Today, people throughout the country will gather to remember, to honor, and pay gratitude to those who have served our country. Our gathering is just one small spark in a flame of pride that burns across the nation today and every day. It's not a lot, but it's one small way we can honor those who have made the ultimate sacrifices so that we can live in freedom. Your presence here today and that of people gathering all across America is a tribute to those lost troops and their families. It's the way to say that we remember. From the service members who shivered and starved through the winter at Valley Forge, to the doughboys crouched in the muddy trenches of France, to the greatest generation who fought World War II, followed by that forgotten Korean War, to the platoon who patrolled the hazy jungles of Vietnam, and the young men and women thrown into the Gulf War, and those now patrolling the mountains of Afghanistan and the sands of Iraq. We remember and we honor them all. Memorial Day is a day we as a country come together to honor and remember our servicemen and women who answered America's call to service and paid the ultimate sacrifice. Memorial Day is a time for Americans as one body to stand up and say thank you. We remember you. We are grateful to you. Thank you for attending today. God bless you, your families. God bless our troops, and God bless America.
Thank you, sir. It was wonderful of your wife, June, to bring you along. We will be blessed again with another song by the St. Francis Community Choral. There's a special treat here, too, I guess, with this song. It's called This Is My Song. The accompanist, thank you, is Michael Hartwell, who will be on the trumpet and the flugelhorn. Who has heard of a flugelhorn before? I want to see a hand. All right, that's more than me. We appreciate the music. Barb? Thank you. We will now have the Fallen Soldier Display Ceremony conducted by the Korean War Veterans, Minnesota Chapter 1. To my left. Gentlemen. Thank you. Go ahead. And if I may, please, it's not in the program. Go ahead, and gentlemen, sit down. This is on bronze plaque in an unknown cemetery in honor of Vietnam veterans. They served, they fought, they died, and received neither their country's glory nor their country's compassion. May that small part of ground serve as a special tribute to them, Vietnam veterans. I now will call Chaplain Joe Shermers to the podium. Purposes of benediction. Please stand if able and remove cover.
Well, I hope you like my prayer that I love so dearly with me leading and you answering me. In the rising of the sun and its going down, we remember them. We remember them. In the glowing of the wind and the chill of the winter, we remember them. In the opening of the buds and in the rebirth of spring, we remember them. In the blueness of sky and in the warmth of the summer, we remember them. In the rustling of the leaves and in the beauty of autumn, we remember them. In the beginning of the year and when it ends, we remember them. When we are weary and in need of strength, we remember them. When we are lost and sick at heart, we remember them. When we have joys we yearn to share, we remember them. So long as we live, they too shall live. For they are now a part of us as what? We remember them. Thank you very much, and get home safe. We look forward to the next year. Thank you. God bless you all.
You may be seated. Well, I bet you're going to stand sometime during this next song, but you can be seated for now. God Bless the USA with soloist John Snell.
Tomorrow all the things were gone I'd worked for all my life, and I had to start again with just my children and my wife. I thank my lucky stars to be living here today, 'cause the flag still stands for freedom and they can't take that away. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the man who died, who gave that right to me. And I'll gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. New York to
Thank you. Thank you. Please remain standing. Yes. For the, we now have the Rifle Squad, Memorial Rifle Squad Rifle Salute, conducted by the Albany Contingent, and taps played by Dennis Schiffler, Waite Park American Legion. Remain standing. We will now retire colors of Minnesota Army National Guard funeral honors. You may be seated. Just a couple closing remarks. I'd like to thank Eric Soggy and the wonderful crew that do a wonderful job out here every day, right? I understand, I've been told, and I believe it's true, this is one of the top decorated and honored state veteran cemetery in the country. Anybody want to disagree with that? See Eric. Also, thank you to Michelle Gorka, works hard behind the scenes and sometimes in front of the scenes. I'd like to thank especially our speaker, Major General David Brevet, David Hamler Jr. and June. Sorry, one mistake I had to make. I got June there. The Richfield Symphonic Band under the direction of Richard Burt. St. Francis Community Choral under the direction of Barb. With accompanist Vicky Spofford, Michael Hartwell, soloist John Snell. Civil Air Patrol, Brainerd. They're all over. Also want to mention Boy Scout Troop 33 out of Swanville. There you go. I know it's warm, but I haven't heard anybody complain. I want to say a special invite. David Hamler mentioned it as well. Stop in at the communal hall to visit Charles Gilbert Kapsner and see the 4 paintings and a color study of the 5th painting the Air Force. There also is a up-to-date photo taken last night in the progress. And on September 15th, the Camp Ripley open house. There will be a noon ceremony at Camp Ripley to unveil the Air Force painting, September 15th at noon. There will be buses going from Camp Ripley over here and back to escort people a bus or 2 at a time. Unbelievable. Just thank you all for being here. I know it brings warm feelings to everybody. We are honoring this sacred ground. This is the day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. Thank you.
What are you guys playing? Morning into the morning. So I get a tracks. I'll talk to you. I know the public's not watching. The public is not watching me. Well, I tell you what, it was a pleasure to meet you. Joe! I know some colleagues that could really benefit.